Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarLimited.com Deep Dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Joining us on the show today is former crew chief Ryan Hand. Before we get to Ryan, Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA is your one-stop shop on the way to the races. They have fresh-made sandwiches and subs with all the fixins, perfect for a night at the racetrack. Dottie's has everything you need in one location, including a full service deli, wide selection of groceries, and gas. If you're looking to dine in, head over to the Hive Coffee House and Cafe for a great sandwich. There's also a seasonal greenhouse on site and Dottie's Crab House where you can dine in for seafood and all you can eat Maryland crabs. Head over to the corner of Canal and Bull Road in Dover, PA. Dottie's Family Market has you covered. Now here's Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the Deep Dive. It's a pleasure to have you on. Normally we do the podcast and I'm on with you every week, so it's not odd, but there was a lot of clamoring to have you on the Deep Dive.
No, I'm flattered for that. Because there's been a lot of really cool, stories and people on here for the deep dive. I think it's a very good addition to your inventory of shows and whatnot. So yeah, no, I do. I like the deep dive. I like listening to people's stories. I think you get a good sense of who they are and where they came from.
No, I just appreciate you having you coming on and I think and I tell people this because you're known for sprint car stuff, obviously with Greg and Zemco
Hmm.
and all that. But the funny thing is, you were kind of as a little kid,
Yeah.
you were at a modified track. And is this something your love of racing just started with your dad? You went to Penn
Yeah.
National and that was it.
Yeah, my dad was involved there. There was always kind of a couple race cars here in town, and my dad was kind of always a motorhead and involved with them. And um, I mean, yeah, I lived for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I didn't get to go to Grandview much, but I really lived for Sundays at Penn National. I mean, I kind of grew up there. I'd ride, which well, it isn't far from here. It's probably 30 minutes, so I'd ride over there in the truck and go in the pit lane and they would drop me off there and I'd walk all the way down and pay for my ticket. And that was probably 8, 9 years old. And then the owner of the car at the time, his name was Joe Rejo, and he was always in there waiting for me. And I went in and my dad said, go in and find Joe. And I sat down with Joe and then me and a bunch of kids would go play till the races started and then watch the races. And after the races were over, I'd walk into the pits and all this I kind of did myself because my dad was in the pits the whole time. So um, but yeah, that was my love of racing started there in modifieds. God, I hope Joe Kaminsky doesn't hear this.
It's funny because I was the same way. I was probably at Penn National when you were at Penn
Yeah,
National. I
a
mean,
good chance. Yeah, it was I mean, Pouch was winning a lot there in the 134. The Ray, I think it was Jerry Becker's show, Lotto Express car.
Kenny Bryce.
Ronnie, yep, Kenny. I don't remember Kenny Bright. Ronnie Tobias and the MXL Missile, that number 12. Mayberry and Paul Latier drove the cars predominantly when I was going there, and the cars that my dad worked on. So yeah, it was Richie Tobias. I would always wait to see what he'd show up with every year because he did different off the wall stuff every year. So that was always exciting to see what his car was going to look like. So yeah, no, from a young age, I was um, kind of into racing since I was a kid. 7 years old, I was in Canada.
Well, how do you end up in Canada?
I I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask my mom that because obviously my dad's not here to ask him that. But I went up with my dad and the race team to, I don't even know, it was French. I mean, the announcers spoke French. I don't even know what the hell they were saying. I just crawled around in a tire for a week, I guess. I don't know.
Now, everybody calls you Roach.
Yeah.
I asked John Samitis when he was on where did he get this nickname. He wouldn't tell me. How do you end up with that nickname?
So it actually, I think it kind of happened on that trip to Canada when I was like 7, because obviously as a kid you don't sit still. And I think it was because I was just crawling around all over the place, and they're like, "You're like a damn rug roach," and they shortened it to Roach. So
Good
That's
stuff.
been that. It's been that for a long time. Yeah. Now it kind of went away, like kind of went away as I got older. But yeah, like people from that era, that's what they know me as, Roach. Yeah.
Well, Ben Engel and all these guys still call you. They say, "Oh, I saw you and your brother," because they think
Oh yeah, we're brothers, obviously.
you and
Yeah.
Roach, and so
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. I very rarely
Yeah.
hear you as Ryan.
Yeah. Like when I'm at a high school football game, and somebody goes, "Hey, Roach," and I'm like, "Oh boy." I it's only a small group that would say that at a high school football game. So I turn around and I'm like, yeah, I figured it was you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, at the races it's pretty commonplace. Yeah.
Now you got into RC cars.
Yeah.
Explain that whole thing. I'm not familiar with it. I know Tony Stewart was involved in that.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
Camp Hill or Lemoyne and
Lemoyne, Kranzels in Lemoyne. Yeah. So my brother actually got involved in it first. He was riding skateboards, and I don't know that he was going down the best path like the kids that were skateboarding in the town. My dad was like, I think we need to get him into something else. So he bought him an RC car. And we ended up going out to Cursona Mall. That's how we started. And then, like anything that we did, it just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And we kept getting fully involved. And we ended up traveling all over the country. We won, I think, 11 national championships. And I barely drove. My brother drove. I was the mechanic. My brother drove because he was like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12. Like nothing got to him because he was too young to realize there was pressure. You know what I mean? So he did a really good job driving, and I love working on them and building them and cutting them up and changing stuff. That was my gig. So um, that was a lot of fun. Met a lot of really good people that I still talk to today. Um, Birthdays come up on Facebook. Like I really really love the RC community. Then me and my brother, I went to college and we were still racing RC cars, and I kind of got lost in the shuffle at college. So I was like, I got to get out and get a job. One of the RC car companies offered me a job, and we were racing for them at the time. It was in New Jersey. It was probably the biggest RC, like serious racing companies, like serious stuff. It was the biggest one. So me and my brother both went there and worked, and we lived in New Jersey for about 3 or 4 years. Um, and I kind of got the shits in New Jersey. Your hobby became your living. I met my wife. I actually met my wife there. She worked at one of the places the place we worked at. So I met her there. But I really was getting the itch. It was probably around 98, 99. I was really getting the itch to do sprint car racing. It was when Zemco was running two cars with Pouch and Gobrecht, and they needed a lot of manpower. And I would leave New Jersey at like 5:30 on a Friday night, and as fast as I could drive to Williams Grove and get there hopefully by 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and go Saturday night, go Sunday night, and drive back to New Jersey on Monday morning. And yeah, kind of got the shits of that pretty quick. And uh, Zemco, Tommy got hired at Zemco, got hired back at Zemco that 2000, I believe it was, and they were looking for a full-time guy, and I became that guy. And I guess the rest is history, I guess.
oh, but it's a good history. And
Yeah, but it was sad. I really like the RC car thing was really fun. I got to see more places racing RC cars, more states, more things. The only time I was ever in Las Vegas in my life was for RC car racing. Uh, I met Tony Stewart when he was before he was the Triple Crown champion in USAC. He raced RC cars. We were out at the Indianapolis Velodrome, and he was busted up. He broke his leg or something, and so he couldn't race. He couldn't race real cars, so he was at the velodrome racing. And his car he had was a pile of shit. It really was not good. And he was friends with the guy that went out there with us, and uh, he came over the one day, and he was like really slow. He ran the stock class, and he wasn't very good. His car wasn't very good because it was just older and whatever. So I think that night he left it with us, and I stayed. We had an enclosed trailer. I stayed in the enclosed trailer for a couple hours and rebuilt his car. And he came back the next day and qualified. I'm pretty sure he qualified for the A main the next day. And he was like, it was like he's like a kid. Like he was so happy, like because he probably wasn't going to make the A main with the way he was, and that was like a friendship that spawned from there. And to this day, birthdays I text him and stuff. So I met a lot of really cool people racing RC cars, and it's a time of my life that I would never get back. It's great, loved it.
So I have to ask, compare working on an RC car to a sprint car. I mean,
Very, very similar. Like, I'll be honest with you, I learned so much geometry and stuff on RC cars, because the front ends are a bit different than our cars. I learned a lot of geometry, um, aero stuff. We did a lot of aero stuff with the bodies
an
because
RC car,
in RC cars, yes,
it's that
yes.
competitive.
It was super competitive, dude. Guys made a living doing it. Guys made six figures back then doing it. Yeah, I went to I went to England and Japan for the World Championships. Now my brother wasn't racing that. One was off road, and the other was like on road, like on road, like GTP style cars. Um, that was in England. That was probably the coolest. That was a race. There's two races that I remember really distinctly. That was one of them because there was battle lines. It was like the team we were on and then the opposing team, and we absolutely cleaned their clocks. We won everything. That was awesome in England. But it was like cutthroat. It was ugly.
I never knew
Um,
that it was like
yeah, and we were at one in Georgia. This was like when we first started going like interstate, racing out of the state. We went to Georgia for a race, and oh my God, the lines were drawn in the sand there. It was crazy. You think there's the shit goes on in sprint car races? This was all that and more over an RC car. Yeah, it was crazy.
wow.
It was crazy.
You probably went to dial it back. You went to sprint car racing.
Yeah, in some cases. I mean, I was taking cars to college with me, and like because we were racing while I was still in college, and I'd work on cars more than I'd work on studying. So that was probably part of my problem why I didn't finish college. But again, I wouldn't give any of it back. It was a great time in my life and friends forever.
Now, where are you from? Are you from the Tower
I'm
City?
Tower City,
So
born and raised.
so
Yep,
you moved back to Tower City.
yep. Moved actually. Uh, I, me and Marie, we weren't married yet, but we moved back here, and moved back into John's place. John Zamitis he has his house, and then separate from his house, he has like I'm going to say it's almost like a barn dominium before there was barn dominiums. He had a little apartment in it, and that's where me and my wife stayed for about a year and a half. And then my grandparents both ended up passing away, and we bought the house that my grandparents lived in, and that's where I'm at now. So yeah, so John and Pee Wee were gracious enough to move us in for I'm going to say probably a year and a half. We lived there, and it helped tremendously, because we were trying to get on our feet and stuff, So yeah, it was great. Had our wedding up there at John's place. Yeah,
You were at, so you helped run the speed shop. You were in the speed shop.
yeah. When I got hired initially in 2000, I got hired to work on the race car full time. That was when Shawn Michaels was driving it. It was the white car. That was the white car. Um, and yeah, that was my full time job for probably 3 or 4 years because we raced a lot. We raced full time then. That was the days of Hars, Hamilton, Middlesworth. You had six, seven, eight full time teams. In Pennsylvania. When I say full time teams, I mean like guys that did it.
Yes.
That's what was their job. Like you don't have that. You have two or three right now, like at the most. Um, so yeah, so that was my first full paid, racing gig, and it's something that I always wanted to do. So, and then as the years went by, I think Sean got out, Mark Smith ended up driving it. Then we opened up Fab Shop because that's what Mark's forte was, and then as and then my roles kind of changed then within Zemco. So like when Mark was there, we kind of cut the racing back a little bit. So then I was driving truck for the tool and die company every day. I'd start my morning doing that, and then when I was done with that, then I could come in and work on the race car and stuff. So, and then when Mark left, uh, then we kind of really cut our racing back. Except like I think Stevie, it was around the Stevie Smith days, so that was real part time. Um, then I had to I learned how to weld then at that point, because Mark had left, and we had the fab shop was kind of going, and we were supplying our own parts for Zemco to sell, W-links, wing trees, Nerf bars, bumpers, that kind of stuff. So that's when I sat down and figured out how to weld. And so that was another niche that I got,
So you never had formal training. You went
never.
on your own.
No. Nope. Watched Mark for a while. Mark's an awesome welder. He's a phenomenal welder. The one guy from the header shop would come down, and he kind of showed me some tips and stuff. And basically, you can see all you want until you get into the fire and start putting your tungsten in the puddle. Unfortunately, that's the best way you learn. Just by, I mean, I burned up a bunch of scrap and welding it together and stuff. And then one day I was just like, okay, it's time to go. We started welding W-links and wing trees and stuff like that. And then after I felt comfortable, it was on to repairing cars. And yeah, basically the full-time fab shop, what Mark had done. So yeah, so then at that point I was doing that after I drove truck. So like literally didn't even work on the race car until the evenings. That was, it kind of changed. So I went from being a full-time race car mechanic in the beginning to not really have time to work on the race car. And then obviously I was like, I still loved racing, and Tommy Carl was there, and I felt like I really wasn't, I didn't want to step on his toes. It was his deal. It's a family deal. But I always wanted to be a crew chief. That was my goal. And one day I got a call from Mike Heffner.
Well, before we get to that, some of the drivers had said,
oh my,
you named a few. Of course,
Gobrecht, Pouch, Shawn Michael, Mark Smith, Danny Lasowski, Haferteef, Stevie Smith. Many people don't know some of the one or two off guys. Mark Richards drove it for a race. This is prior to me. Mike Wagner drove it for at least a race, maybe two. Jordan Thomas's father, they call him Spider.
Yep.
Spider Thomas. He was URC at the time, or not URC. He was ESS at the time, because they're from like pretty far up north in Pennsylvania. He drove it for at least a race or two. Skip Jackson, awesome guy. Skip Jackson, super good guy. Like the last time I was in Knoxville, I got to see him. Really good guy. Like Skip Jackson a lot. Who else?
Well, so the guys you worked with.
Guys I worked with, Gobrecht and Pouch from prior, and then it would have been Sean. Lucas Shepard was in there. Yep. Lucas would have been the first one that I didn't work with because he came in. Lepo drove it at the end of that year. Yeah. Lepo. I mean, the big long, kind of the longer standing ones were Mark Smith, Stevie Smith. Lasowski drove it for at least half a season. Maybe not quite a half a season because he got in after Haferteef. He was probably half season. So yeah, it was majority of them guys.
You're tight with Lasowski.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
What's it like? Because you weren't the crew chief. I mean, you were with Tommy Carl. What was it like wrenching for some of these guys, and specifically Lasowski?
Well, the thing is I mean, I knew him, but I didn't know him like I know him now. So it was a little more, not like a little more reserved, I guess I was, but now it's like, now we just bust each other's balls, like, but really cool because there's a guy that was a World of Outlaw champion, Knoxville National 4-time champion. And, and I'll be honest with you, we went to Knoxville the year he drove, and we were freaking fast. Like, I thought we were pretty good at the Capitani that Sunday night, the Capitani. And then we come out, we were good in warm-ups, pretty far up on the board, and go out to run our time trial lap. And at Knoxville, sometimes the cushion gets lips on it, and Carl come through and hit it, and it'll lift it up and lay it down.
Yep.
Lift it up and lay it down. Well, Danny went out to run our qualifying lap on the night we qualified, and the lip was still stood up, and he came through there and drilled it with the front of the car, like the part that goes across in front of the radiator, and actually broke it. and we basically were no good after that because the car was basically broken in time trials. That was the year. That was the first year that they let you, if you didn't want to run the B main, you could pull out and run the Friday night hard knocks. And everybody's like, "You guys are crazy," but we felt like it was our best chance. Like we would take 4 chances of hitting the track to running the top 4, than trying to drive from 8th to 4th in the B main. So, but yeah, no, awesome guy, fun guy. We had a hell of a time at his place. After Florida one year, we went down there for Volusia for the Volusia. It was after Volusia. We went over there for a Super Bowl party. That was absolute blast. One of the funnest nights of my life. We laughed and laughed and laughed. Just a really good guy.
Stevie
Yeah.
Smith. I think
Oh,
people, and we see it now. We see it now with his business,
yeah.
Smith Titanium. Smart guy when it comes to racing.
I feel like Stevie's so quiet
Yes.
and unassuming that like I feel like in my mind he flew under the radar for years. Like I feel like Stevie is probably one of the top 7 or 8 guys that ever drove a sprint car. Like I'm telling you, that guy is good. Like he's good. Yeah, it's good.
I used to interview him, and I never could tell.
Yeah, just
Thinking, just
calm sometimes. Yeah, like I mean, I probably saw him pissed off twice. Other than that,
tell me. You got to tell me.
oh, well, one night we lost the right front steering arm or something, and it was at I can't even remember. I can't. It was out in Western PA. It was a track. It was a track that had a dirt track inside an asphalt track, and thank God, there was no wall in turn. I think it was turn 1. The car wouldn't turn, and he kind of went up over. Like it would have been huge if there had been a wall. There was no wall, so you could kind of glide it off into whatever was out there. But oh my God, he came back. He was furious, which rightfully so. Um, that was one of the times. But just a really smart guy, but just quiet, just kind of. I don't even know how to describe it. Like just quiet guy that just didn't get enough praise for what he did. I don't feel like, you know.
Unassuming, and I think very humble.
Oh yeah, like
Very humble.
like everything he's ever done, he doesn't expect a pat in the back for it. Just go about his business and keep working. He's that guy that is going to work till the day he dies. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Doesn't take a day off.
You got a chance to work with Billy Pouch. I mean, Billy
Yeah,
Pouch, people don't know he's a modified guy first, and
yeah,
he's over 600 wins. But he jumped in a sprint car. He'd run it like a modified. He kind of scooted it.
yeah. Kind of had it on the right side a lot, and
It was
yeah.
really different. I mean, a legendary driver.
Oh, my biggest takeaway with Billy, you added another zero to the purse, and look out. If it went from 5,000 to 10,000, when you added the 6th and the 5th digit, it was
It
it was
that was true when
he just
10,000 meant something.
yeah, that was what, yeah, like when we went to 5-digit races back then, it was big. Like, and I mean that guy is, I mean, I think Kyle Larson can drive a lot of stuff, but I think Billy Pouch was back then kind of like the Kyle Larson. Obviously, never made it to where Kyle did, but I don't know that Billy ever tried. He wasn't that guy. That he wasn't that guy. But he went and ran one of them touring modifieds at Flemington and was like a lap down or something, 200 lap race, and ended up winning it. Like something ridiculous. Like truck race at Flemington, super competitive. Never drove a truck before. Just a guy that was
Just naturally gifted.
natural talent. Yeah, and boy, I'm telling you, money motivated that guy. I really believe that. I really believe that. Yeah, he was as good as it gets.
You also got a chance to Kevin Gobrecht.
Yep.
He's up for the Sprint Car Hall of Fame this year,
Oh,
and obviously you had a rapport with him. A guy who it took him a while to get to the sprint car ranks, but it
yeah.
didn't take him long to pick it up once he got it there.
No.
He got there, and he really busted out in the Zemco deal, and then was able to get the ride on the road. I mean, tragic end.
Mm.
Obviously, that had to hit you hard because you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, like, that was the days of the two cars at Zemco when he came there. Like when he drove the Zemco car by himself, usually Billy was hurt or had prior commitments or something with the modifieds. So like then that the year I think it was '99 started, and we ended up having two cars in Florida and everything. Started the year off just murdering everybody. We were on the game. It was the introduction to Hoosier tires. So it was we were on board with Hoosier, and it was almost the unfair advantage at that time. But Kevin was so driven, smart, ballsy. Like he would drive the hell out of it. Sometimes, I mean, Kevin, Bob Stewart. I don't know how much Bob Stewart spent to try to keep Kevin in the sprint car because it seemed like he wrecked the Apple car like every weekend. And that was kind of his demise in that car because I felt like he was right there to make that, you know, that jump from crashing to winning. And we were lucky enough he came along to Zemco, and that was like when the change happened. Crashed a couple cars, but nothing like he did with Apple. But it was his learning phase. But boy, just gifted, just took it super serious. Super kind guy, really smart. I'll never forget. We won three. He won three races. It was Port Royal I think it was Port Royal during the day. We drove to Lincoln that night, won at Lincoln. The next day was Williams Grove. Won that. So he won basically three races in 24 hours. And his dad, they asked his dad something. His dad said, the biggest thing I'm proud of from this weekend is he showed up for work on time on Monday. Like he was at work, normal time, like
Nothing happened.
he didn't win, like he didn't win three races. And that was Kevin. Hard worker. Yeah, just really good guy. Like, I know I was looking through some of the stats and stuff, and I think he only has one outlaw win, and it was with Zemco. He obviously who won the HBO, I think,
Yep, he won
in the '93, but I don't know that was a outlaw race or whatever. So, but the stats don't like if someone just looks at the stats for him, they're gonna go how like. But yeah, he was gonna be. I think I say this, and I truly believe this. If he was still racing, the Frontier, like what sprint car racing looks like right now, would look a little different because he'd be one of those guys.
I mean, he had the talent, no doubt about
Oh,
that. And
oh, smart. He's really smart, like super smart guy.
on the rise.
Yeah.
Still
I mean, him and his brother won't. Huh. I remember looking in the area auto and they'd be like 32 wins and 42 wins in micros. I'm like, what? What are these right guys run like five times a night or what? No, they just win every night they race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sick, but great family. Donna to this day, every time I see her, she gives me a big hug. I don't get to see his dad much, but good guy, real good guy, and Brian and Scott, just great people. So yeah, that was a Kevin. Yeah, losing him was huge. That was I can remember because it was kind of before the whole social media thing. Cell phones were just kind of like I don't know, I probably had one, but so we had raced Saturday night, and I showed up Sunday morning at the race shop to wash at Zemco, and there was Rick. Rick was the crew chief at the time. There was Rick sitting, garage door was open. He's sitting in a chair, and like the back door of the trailer wasn't open. Nothing. Like I was like pulled in. I'm like, this is weird. And I get out of my truck. He's like, Kevin was killed last night. I said, what? So it was, yeah, that was. I remember that funeral. Oh my God, there was people, so many people there, so many people there. But yeah, he was going to be. I really truly believe he was going to be something special in a sprint car. What he already was, but I'm saying down like traveling, he was going to be one of the big guys. Yeah, yeah.
So you always wanted to be a crew chief.
Mm-hmm.
You get the call.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I talked to you at this point, so I
Mm-hmm.
knew who you were, and I know you had some reservations a little bit
A little
because
bit.
you were
Yeah.
going to work with Greg Hodnett.
Yeah.
That's no joke. This is a
No.
guy who, everybody at that point, he was Greg Hodnett. Everybody knew who he
Mm-hmm.
was. His best guy, in my opinion, in Central Pennsylvania at the time, and gets the ride with Heffner, and you're going to be the crew chief. Take me through the decision-making process. You weren't going to be a crew chief for a guy who doesn't win. You were going to be a crew chief for a guy who is expected to win, which is totally different. Take
Yeah.
the thought process there because this was going to be your full-time gig.
Yeah. Well, it was probably one of the toughest decisions I ever made in my life because uh, John and Pee Wee did so much for me, and it was very difficult to leave. Really difficult. I was not looking forward to going to talk to John and say, "Hey, I'm putting my 2 week notice in." It wasn't pretty. Not that he was fine, but it wasn't pretty on my side.
You're a loyal guy. If people don't
Yeah.
know, you're a very loyal guy. I know
Listen, everybody I've ever worked for, everybody that I've ever had a full time job for, I knew them before I went to work there. Like I knew the person. Like I knew John Zomaitis since I was 10. The guy who owned the RC Carpy, I knew him before I went to work there because we were racing RC cars. So it's Mike Heffner falls into the same thing. I knew him before I went to work for him. So you have a relationship with these people. It's not like you're just going into a job and filling out you know, your application and, they come in and say, can you do this? Yeah. Look, okay. You got a job. No, these people, you have a relationship with them. So, but yeah, it was tough because I was kind of torn because I'm like, okay, if this doesn't go well and we don't win, it's not going to be because of Greg Hodnet. It's going to be because of me, because Greg Hodnet wins. Like that's what he does, and he's expected to win in PA because that's what he's done. So, but on the other hand, I thought, well, you're going to find out pretty quick if you can do this, because you're either going to win or you're going to be looking for a job. And the first year was, I mean, we only won 12 races the first year. It took a while for us to get going. We had to make some changes and some stuff. But I felt like we got going pretty good at the end of that year. We murdered them at I think it was the Selinsgrove National Open. I think we lapped up the third. That was really cool. Like that was for my first year doing it. I'm like, that was the highlight of the first year. But yeah, so 12 wasn't enough though, obviously. That's not good enough. So I think the next year we won 18. And we had gotten going pretty good. We had switched from Max and the Triple X at the time. And that really kind of propelled us into the following year when we actually won 23, which was pretty crazy because we won some good races, some outlaw shows. Now, granted, we never traveled, like literally never went to Eldora. We went to Knoxville, and all we ever really did there was take the 360 out, run the weekend before, and run the Capitani and hope for the best. And Greg he was really good at Knoxville. He was better than our car was there for sure.
When you came in there, what was it like working with Greg those first seasons? I mean,
it was a little intimidating at first because again, this guy's won with everyone. So it was intimidating. There was a lot on my plate because I had never really done any motor stuff. So that was, truly a learning. That was my biggest. For half the season, I was petrified that I was going to burn a motor up. Like literally worried about the motor more than I worried about watching the track and, you know what I mean? Like doing things that you should do as a crew chief instead of put the pill in, check your air and go. You know what I mean? Like after I felt more comfortable with that, things got better. But Greg, just an awesome guy. Him and Sherry, they basically, I was like their adopted son, I guess maybe, because I stayed at the house we'd race Friday night and I'd stay there Friday night, Saturday night. And if we raced Sunday, I'd leave there and go home and go back to work on Monday morning. So yeah, they took care of me and took me in, and yeah, it was for 5 years. It was awesome.
How did he wasn't a guy, he wasn't a yeller, screamer.
No.
He had a dry sense of humor, which was really
Yeah.
funny. And if you got to know him,
Yep.
I think I talked to Greg almost every time I went to the track because we talk about hiking or we'd talk about, we talked about football.
Yep.
How wrong he was about a quarterback coming out of Memphis State. It was just, but I don't think he would. So how did he make you comfortable?
Because he could do so much with the car. Like he literally could do so much with the car. I realized that, look, you're never, okay, this is a Greg Hodnett thing. It's never going to be perfect.
No.
It's never, we lapped up the third that night at Sealands Grove. I'm telling you, I was the happiest. I went to Victor Lane. He got out of the car. I was smiling like crazy. I said, man, that was awesome. You kicked their ass. I said, how was the car? He goes, it was terrible. I could have spun it out any lap I wanted to. I'm like, my full balloon went and got deflated in a hurry. I'm like, Jesus. But I knew going in that was Greg's forte. He was never gonna settle for, like, you were never gonna hear him say that thing's awesome. It wasn't gonna happen. So don't get discouraged about that. But the biggest thing with Greg was just get it. Basically, I learned, get it close, keep it consistent, and let him do his thing. If he knew what he was getting every night, he could adjust and make things happen with his brake pedal, with his throttle pedal, with the wing. That was one of the big things. He's like, I need to get the wing. I got to figure out where the wing needs to be, and then I got to find the happy place. He always called it its happy place. But he could carry the car. He could carry the car so much back then that helped me tremendously. I realized, just get it close. Don't overdo it, and let him do his thing.
Did you learn more from him than anyone?
Yeah, because that's kind of a loaded question, because I mean, obviously Tommy taught me a lot. He taught me building cars and stuff like that. But I only ever got to see it's the one downfall that I'd say, like, guys who have worked for a lot of different people, I'm kind of jealous of, because they got to see a lot of things a lot of different ways, and some right and some wrong, because there's not a right or a wrong. But some work and some don't. But I only got to see things one way. So when I got in there, I'm like, okay, I gotta open my mind up to different things, like to see things differently. So that was one thing that Greg kind of urged me on. He's like, maybe we gotta change some stuff and change your thinking. And I'm like, yeah, like, he helped tremendously. He was very smart, very intelligent guy, engineer,
Yeah.
just really smart. Could always have a suggestion on how to make something better or whatever. So yeah, it was fun. It was to race with that guy, that caliber of a driver. My first time as a crew chief was, yeah, it made it probably as easy as it's going to get.
I got to ask you about winter heat for our boy Joe.
Oh my.
It wouldn't be a deep dive. I have to. So you set up this deal.
Yeah.
Where you and Greg end up going to winter heat with a guy.
Greg kind of set this thing up. It was like, Greg, I didn't have a whole lot to do with it other than that I was going.
You're going.
Yeah.
But it's a car owner in California who doesn't run full time. Joe Schriltz. He did everything he could to put this together, and
he did. He really did.
Guy in a shop. He's not, big game or these other guys.
Yeah.
You meet Joey Bats.
I met Joey Bats. Yep.
Tell me about winter heat. What was that experience like? You meet Joe, who's a unique individual, very driven, one of the most disciplined people I've ever met in my life. And of course, then you have Joey Bats, which, did you have to stay in a room with him?
Yeah, I got the room with Joey. That was interesting, for sure. And he had just gotten his toe cut off or something. So it was a little strange, but Joey's a good guy. He means well. But Joe, so we kind of set some guidelines up to make this happen. Like, we weren't just going out there and running somebody else's stuff, because Greg had gone to Australia, and I'm not sure if he went to Australia before or after that. I think he went after that, but he went and kind of ran the guys' stuff that they had in Australia, and he kind of struggled over there. But we went with something that we wanted to be familiar with. So the deal was, Joe buys a roller from us, a car that we're familiar with. He buys a roller from us, and he buys his own motor. He wanted to buy a motor, and so he bought a rider motor that was geared right towards what we were running. So we basically picked the motor up, put it in the car, took the car to, I don't know, it was a guy who was put this car in a container, and out to California it went. We didn't see it for 2 months, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, left and was out there, and me and Greg and Sherry fly out there and met Joe and Joey and all their helpers, and go into the track, and there's like this moving trailer. It looked like a moving trailer. that Joe rented somebody, a buddy of his, or something. I don't even know the story behind that all, but like it wasn't set up for racing. So it was very, the fact that Mike had let us do exactly what we wanted to do for 5 years, and we had everything organized the way we wanted it, and we were so familiar with everything, to go and like, hey, do we have any wheel spacers? Like it was it was definitely, that part of it was trying. It was a lot of fun, and actually we didn't do bad at all.
Speed out there.
No, we did. We had speed the one night. Actually, the one night we were leading, and I think Greg got through a rut or something and spun out or something, like leading or running second or something. No, we had speed. We were good. And Joe was, I think he was pretty happy with the way it ended up. It could have been way better. Like that again, that night we were leading. I mean, I think we had a chance to run, if not win, run second for sure, and that would have certainly made for a better overall week in the points. But it was a fun deal, because that was like I said, me and Greg didn't travel. Like we ran Central PA all the time. We never traveled, so that was like our traveling experience, and it wasn't bad. It was a fun time. Joe's an awesome guy. Did everything we asked. Super happy I got to meet him, but it was definitely not as organized as everybody else was that was there. But we made the best, and we had some good help. Met some really nice people out there that I still, Corey Neshaw. That was kind of how I met him and his family, and so yeah, no, it was a good experience, fun time, and yeah, Joe's a unique individual for sure.
Yeah.
But appreciative of everything he did for us on that trip, because it was fun.
So you get to 2000, I believe 18, and
Yep.
you were going to leave Heffner Motorsports.
Yeah.
What made you want to kind of walk away from that deal? It was a successful deal.
Yeah.
You proved yourself. I thought. I know you're kind of a little like Greg. I was along for the ride. No, yeah, you did a good job. But you were ready to walk away from that. Why?
Well, my daughter, I basically didn't see my daughter grow up. I mean, we raced. I was gone from Friday to Sunday, like gone, like not home.
Right.
My daughter was getting into sports, which I could do a little bit during the week. It was fine when she was playing like rec league here. That was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know what I mean? Like I could do the evenings after work, like that. But then she started playing travel softball and stuff like that, and that was all on the weekends. And I finally got the shits of it when I heard through the grapevine that my wife, her and my wife were going to a game that I couldn't go to, and my wife got lost and she missed the whole first game. My wife got lost going there, and she missed the whole first game. And I'm like, okay, something's got to give here. Like I think she was 11 or 12 years old at the time, and I was just like, I've done my whole life up till here for myself. Like pretty much, even my wife left me do whatever I wanted to racing wise, and I wasn't home a lot. And I was like, it's time for me to grow up and get a normal job so I can grow up with my kid and my wife.
Well, and
More my kid, but
it's not in the room, is she?
yeah, no, she's not. No,
She made you soup tonight.
as she did. Yeah, yeah.
But obviously, probably one of the worst things in your life.
Oh,
September 20th,
horrible,
September 20th, 2018.
horrible.
I will, and actually, this still bothers me, but I have to obviously talk about it because it's a big part of your life, and really, actually, one of the worst things I say. I was on the observation deck at
Mhm.
Speedway, and Greg crashes, and we lose Greg.
Mhm.
I'm not going to ask you how it felt. I mean, obviously, is that whole month, from when it happened to afterward, a blur? And I mean, you were the crew chief on that thing.
Yeah, no, everything, it was my responsibility. Everything was my responsibility. And obviously there was a part failure somewhere along the line, and we still, to this day, I'm not even 100% sure what the hell happened. But no, it was probably one of the saddest days of my life. Obviously lost a really good friend. But more than that, is, oh, his family lost an awesome person. And that's the part that probably bothers me the most. Yeah. Is to look them in the eyes and say this was, my responsibility, and, obviously something went wrong.
Yeah, and I'll never forget, Colton. Colton Gauss, the general manager, he still
Mm-hmm.
spent 3 days down at my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't go back. He couldn't even.
Yeah. No.
His house is behind the track.
Yeah.
And, it's a guy. It's hard for me even now. It's a guy I talk to 80 times a year,
Mm-hmm.
or I called on the phone.
Yeah.
Because he was just so good at. Man, he was an ambassador.
Yeah. He was good at everything. He was very level-headed. He thought everything out. It wasn't always what was best for Greg Hodnet. That was not always, when people asked him racing questions from tracks and promoters and whatever, it wasn't always what was best for Greg Hodnet.
No, it was never. It was
Yeah.
always.
It was what's best for what's best for Pennsylvania, because he knew where his bread was buttered. And what's best for racing. And, a lot of people asked him a lot of questions, and he was one of the guys that he was like the sounding board that everybody bounced questions off of. And, because he was so knowledgeable, because he was level headed, because he was fair, he didn't just consider what was best for Greg Hodnet, what was going to, pad his pocketbook more than, you know, he suggested stuff that probably didn't work out the best for us, but
No.
it was what at the time what was the best for what was going on around here. So, but yeah, no, just a guy that, I mean, to this day, I have two voicemails in my phone that I'll never get rid of.
Yeah, I won't. I don't. Because I give drivers a free subscription. I don't delete his.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yep.
Just certain things. And what did the area lose
Oh,
that night? Because I don't think anybody's replaced it yet.
no, no. They lost a guy who could win any race in here, against any outlaws, anybody. But more importantly, they lost a guy that you could take him to Motorama and he could speak intelligently of what's going on here. You could take him to a World of Outlaw race and he could speak more intelligently than most of them guys could about racing. He would be he just was knowledgeable and could answer a lot of questions, but do it without his concern what was best for everybody. And it just, I don't know, it's a shame. It really, I think about it almost daily.
So, moving on. So you get a job, because you don't get up early enough. You're now going to go work at Macri Concrete.
Mm-hmm. And well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. How long?
That was facilitated by Greg. I mean, that was a deal that, I met Nick through Greg, because Nick always sponsored Greg. Not at the 27, but we had dropped some tires off at there and stuff, and I got that year's when one of them years is when Anthony first started racing sprint cars. And Nick's that guy that always stops, and he has certain people he stops and talks to, and
Yeah.
I became one of them that, towards the end of that year that he would always stop and bust my balls about something or whatever. I'd see him, how's your daughter doing? Because his daughter played softball, so he knew where I was coming from and stuff like that. So that's how I met Nick. And I when I ended up leaving Mike's, I still didn't have a job. Like, I didn't know where I was going to work yet. I had three places that basically I considered options, and Nick ended up being the option that I chose.
I get asked, what do you do there? Because here's the thing. I look at you as a fixer. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not working on the race car. People think like that's all you do. No, you, don't work on the race car. He has people to do that.
Yep.
What you do, talk to the
I'm
guy.
involved. Yeah, I'm involved in the racing a little bit. So when I said to Nick, I'm like, okay, like if I come work there, I don't know a goddamn thing about concrete. What am I going to do? He goes, you don't have to worry about concrete. He said, we have guys that worry about concrete. He said, I'll put you in a position where you can do what you are capable of doing, what you do. He said, and we'll figure it out. It's not a problem. So I was like, okay, well,
That's
Macri concrete sounds like concrete to me, but okay. So no, my role there is Hank Donovan, who has worked for Nick before I did, obviously, and was involved in Anthony's career. Me and Hank work in the shop there, which a lot of people don't understand. Macri Concrete does not make concrete. We don't pump concrete. We finish concrete. We have guys that form and finish. That's what we do. But within that, we have lots of vehicles that are company trucks, trailers, and machines, the machines that finish the concrete. So Hank and I pretty much do all the logistical stuff of getting stuff to job sites, loading trailers, making sure the machines run. These guys will crash a machine and it comes back and we have to figure out what's wrong with it and get it straightened out and get it ready for the next job. Cleaning concrete is one of the most miserable things that
oh,
it 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 truly is hard to get off of everything. It really sucks. But we have to wash the machines. Just there's so much behind the scenes that to this day I still haven't touched concrete. Nick was right.
Nick is. If people don't, I'd love to get Nick Macri on the deep.
Oh, good. It would be awesome, but I'd say good luck.
Yeah, well, I'd have to bleep out half of it, but he
It'll
is,
be very interesting.
but he is, out of just a very generous man,
Oh, yeah.
and it's no nonsense. And you want to talk about
Yep.
work?
Oh, no nonsense for sure. No, wait. But we have fun. Like he is
Yes,
a fun guy.
yes.
But when shit ain't right,
Ooh,
it ain't fun.
well, and he works. Boy,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
guy works.
Listen, he took Macri Concrete from he was beginning Macri Concrete when he still worked a full-time job. So, I mean, the guy, I don't know, I would say listen to the stories in the beginning, if he slept 1 or 2 hours a week besides in his truck, he was lucky,
He told,
like
he
when he
told
first started.
yeah, he told me a story. He'd sleep on the turnpike in his car.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got what I guess what people don't realize is everybody probably sees concrete jobs and they see this guy doing the sidewalk or whatever at home or through town or their driveway or whatever. The concrete work we do is like commercial. It's big. Our stuff happens at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, like before people people don't even pass the concrete trucks that we use at our jobs. The concrete's in before people leave for their jobs. So um, that's where that's where Nick was. Like he's out making sure everything's there, making sure the concrete trucks are coming. And God forbid, I'm sure if they weren't, it was not pretty. Um, so yeah, that was Nick. Like when I got there, Nick was still going to job sites and stuff, but probably not nearly as hardcore as it was when he first started. I mean, he is hands on. Like they said, he used to go to job sites and run power buggies, which is a way. It's basically a motorized wheelbarrow, for lack of a better word. But he used to get in and get dirty. But again, he started Macri Concrete from nothing, literally from nothing, and he's turned it into probably the biggest concrete shop, union shop in central Pennsylvania.
So you do okay. So Anthony Macri starts out crashing a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
stuff.
Now I'm watching this. I'm watching this proceed as Greg. Greg is like Anthony's kind of role model
Yes.
because Nick had sponsored Greg when Anthony was before he even was racing. So Anthony had Greg was the guy he bounced stuff off of.
Well, we look at Anthony Macri now.
Oh,
Okay. And before we get to you, and I don't think you'd be upset. You do talk to Anthony. Like there's
mm-hmm.
times you've helped him with his maturation as a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of the guy behind the scene. I always call you like a fixer I'll call you during the day to set up a podcast and you're hauling rebar, but then you're, there's times you filled in on the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
I think the one year when going through all the crew chiefs switch, you won the Tuscarora 50, the Selinsgrove National Open, and there was another one you won. Oh, was it the Nittany Showdown?
Yeah. His first two outlaw runs he had. Yeah.
You won all of that as a
Yeah.
crew.
Yeah.
So you might know what you're doing. So, but tell us about tell everybody about the maturation of Anthony Macri from a guy who wrecked a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't see what I see now,
No.
but boy, now he's a top 6, 7 guy in the country every year, depending where he runs and
Yeah.
all that. And he's good.
Early story about Anthony. This is Grandview Speed Week. Moon's helping him because Moon Byers was like his first crew chief in sprint car racing. So they go out in time trial, and he goes quick time the first lap. And I'm not sure if we weren't second or third or something like that. He goes quick time the first lap and puts it in the fence the second lap. And he's coming back. Like, I think he was walking back through at the opening there, and we're standing up there, and he's like, "Oh man." I said, "Dude," I said, "you need it. What's wrong with it?" And he's like, "I don't know. We're done." I'm like, "You're quick time." He goes, "What?" I said, "Your first lap was quick time. You're quick time right now." And like, just unassuming, like that was Anthony. Like,
Yeah.
didn't realize. Well, obviously he was in the car, so the second lap he crashes, so he's probably like, "Oh man, I'm getting my ass chewed, and this isn't going to be pretty." But I'm like, "You're quick time," and he's like, "Really?" Well, then obviously, then shit started happening, and they got it back together, or whatever. But that was one of the first times that I'm like, he might have something there. Like, he might have something. Um, Jim Shuttlesworth came on board, and I think it was the perfect guy at the perfect time because Jim's one of them guys that could really he works really good with young people because he's a great guy to boost their confidence, and it's where Anthony he needed that at that point in his career. So about that time is when I felt like Anthony started to figuring stuff out. Didn't crash as much. Obviously, Jim's cars went really good at Port Royal, and Anthony took a liking to Port Royal, and it was a comfortable place for him to race on the fence, which is not comfortable for most people. But with the way Jim did the car and the way Anthony drove, that was kind of his coming out party. That was where he was comfortable. He started winning races there. Now he won races. He had won races before? I think him and Moon won 2 races at Lincoln. Not sure if he won one at the Grove, but
Good
like,
at Lincoln and didn't like Lincoln though.
yeah, yeah. But Moon had a really good deal for like Williams Grove and Lincoln. Like his cars were always faster. While he was working with Anthony, he was working with Freddie too. So, and Stevie. So, but I felt like Anthony started figuring stuff out when Jim came on board there. Just like when he got something that felt really good. I think the first time you get something that feels really good and you're really comfortable, the confidence start rising, and that's where he was with Jim. And then obviously shit hit the fan there. Right after Speed Week, they had a really good Speed Week, and shit hit the fan there. And then, but I feel like that year was the year that Anthony started figuring it out. Then Bernie comes in because it was like, oh shit, where do we go now? And I'm like, I can't. Like, I was involved in everything Kayla was doing at the time. She was in high school sports. I'm like, I'll do what I can do, but I can't probably do Friday nights. Saturdays are limited because of travel ball. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's when they got Bernie to come in and do basically anything at Williams Grove on a Friday night and Lincoln. And then I got Port Royal and Selinsgrove because it was what Bernie was like, I really don't care about them places. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll take care of those because he's really good there. But as it was, like the first weekend that Bernie came in, I think they won Lincoln and Williams Grove Friday night, the very first time that he was in the car with Bernie working on it. And I think they won the next night at Lincoln. So it was like the confidence level was just brimming. And And that was kind of the explosion for, in my opinion, for Anthony, was that year. You had Jim to start the year. They had a really good season going through Speed Week, and then Bernie came on board and won and was competitive, really competitive at the big shows at Williams Grove and stuff at the end of the year. And then we did what we did at Port Royal and Sealands Grove, and I just feel like that was the, Anthony, that was his breakout, figuring it out, confidence, knew he, I talked about Greg earlier, being able to carry a car, like when it's not right. Well, that's where I think Anthony, that was the point. That's where I think when you become a good driver, you can help carry the car. When you have a 7th place car and you can make it run 3rd, you're doing something. You're doing something. Because guys that can't do that will take a 7th place car and put it in the fence, trying to run 3rd. Where he was over that. He was past that. He could take that 7th place car now and run 3rd or win at Port Royal, especially. So, yeah, I'd say that was the year, the breakout year, when things started. I always say, when things, whatever you're trying to do, when things start slowing down and it becomes more natural instead of going, oh my God, how am I going to keep up with this? Like, I felt like that's where he was in his career at that point. Everything around him started slowing down, and he became much faster in the race car.
Yeah, and I actually think he's better at Lincoln than he is Port. I think now, I mean, every time he goes to Lincoln, he's running in the top 3.
So I think Joe really helped. Whatever Joe does at Lincoln really helped his Lincoln. Like he became a lot better at Lincoln, but I still think he's pretty good at Port Royal.
No, don't get me wrong.
But he's really, like Williams Grove. I'm not so sure Williams Grove wasn't his best track last year.
No doubt about it. And then
I mean, very limited race. I think they ran 5 or 6 races there last year.
I want to talk just briefly, hit on last year. When's the King's Royal? What was that like for you? Because I know you're a fan of Anthony. I mean, you have a vested interest. You've helped him.
I mean,
mental game a little bit.
Listen, that's one of the reasons. One of the, besides the fact of what all Nick did for me, getting me a job there and stuff like that. But like, I knew that I knew I could be involved in racing to a point, but not obsessed with it like I had to be before. He made it clear, I'm never going to ask you to work on the race car like full time. That is not your job. That's not why I'm having you come here. And even when Jim quit there, he's like, I'm not asking you. And I said, well, I'll do what I can do. But he said, I'm not asking you. I said, okay, I'll do what I can do. But it's a place where I can be involved in racing a little bit, and it keeps me happy because I still love racing, but I don't love the grind of it. And
the car wash,
the 15-hour days, I don't miss it. Like, now, do I have fun going to a couple races a year? Absolutely. Like, I went out to Lernerville and the 4 Crown this year. I had a blast. It was fun. We did well. Like, it was fun. But I'm involved in racing enough, but far enough away from it that it's not my job. Still, like, order parts, kind of like Joe and I talk every day, probably 4 times a day. It's his deal. He does what he needs to do, and I help him do what he needs to do. I'm involved in it. I do some shock work and stuff like that. That I love it. That keeps me involved. But Anthony winning the King's Royal was, man, it's one of them things where it's like, it's come full circle. Like it's a very proud moment because I'd say 4 years ago, no one would have said no way, not a prayer. But the last 2 years, it's like, he's on the verge of winning. He's on the verge of winning something big, besides big races at Port Royal and stuff like, because the National Open, he's been very competitive at. I'd say the last 2 or 3 years, he's been top 5 every night at the National Open. Just be real close to winning that big one. And then, obviously Joe being on the road and having the knowledge that he has, that's where I say I didn't have that ability to see things through different people's perspective, where he's worked for Bobby Allen, he's worked with Eric Prutzman. So he's had a couple guys that he can see stuff through. so it's a big help. But yeah, no, they killed it that weekend. And it was really cool. I was proud. I was proud of all of them, obviously, because it's a it's it's one of the biggest races of the year ever. So yeah, for them guys to win that, and I had a to say I had a small part in it. Yeah, it's very gratifying.
Well, I only got like one or two more. I mean, your daughter's now in college.
Yep.
Do you ever see yourself being more involved on a car anymore? Or is that just a part of your life that it was great and you got a lot out of it, but hey, I've moved on? Or is it something you would like to do?
I have always said this because I had a lot of people ask me, "Can you help me? Can you come to the race with me?" If someone can't do racing 100%, they're not helping you. Like that's just the way I feel. I feel like if I can't be there and make sure everything's right, then I'm no help. If someone said, "Can you come to the track and help me?" No, because I'm not gonna help you. Like it's not gonna work. There's things that need to be done before we go to the track. That's where, like, can I go to the track and help somebody? Yeah, probably a little bit, but like I just if I can't do something 110%, I'm wasting your time. Go find someone who can, because I can't. It just doesn't work. Like I'm the guy that it's got to be 110% or nothing. Do I see myself working on a race car down the road?
Maybe a
I'd like
friend.
to say I'd like to say no, because I'm 50 years old.
Yep,
Um,
50 now.
yeah, turned 50 this year.
Welcome to the club.
Um, yeah, and I love racing, but I don't have the love for racing like like these guys. That the guys that are winning are putting so much time into it, and I just don't have that love for it anymore. I mean, or at least right now, I don't. I just don't have. I don't have that ability to want to do it as much as to be successful. It's got to be all in, and I just don't have that love for it to be all in.
Well, I mean, Ryan, you give a lot to the podcast. I mean, for people who maybe don't aren't members to the site, you're my podcast host. It's been great. I hope you're on it for many years because people like you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, the couple races I do get to a year, I get, yeah, a lot of people snicker and have fun with it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I like how you try and sneak to the track, so I won't get a post race video with you.
Yeah, because I'm down the road.
You just you don't even tell me anymore. I have to see it. I have to
Yeah.
see it. It's
Oh, you're here. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
here, but I'm gone too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, I appreciate you coming on. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. We usually do the podcast, so I don't want to lock you up for 2 nights in a week. But again, I appreciate you
All
coming.
good.
I know there's a lot of people who wanted to see this one, especially a guy out in California. Uh, so again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and um, yeah, it's just I really like this show. I really like shows like this because it gives you a really behind the scenes look at, uh, you know, you go to the races and you see these guys, what they do at the races, and that's how you know them. But I feel like this show gets deeper behind the person, and you can see what they do besides racing. And everyone that you've done so far has shed some light on people's real life besides racing.
Well, I appreciate that. And the other thing is you get to see me twice this week.
Oh God, that's great.
So thank you very much, Ryan. I look forward to doing
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep, no problem. That's going to wrap up another edition of the SprintCarLimited.com deep dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Thank you very much to Ryan Hand for joining us on the show. A lot of good stuff there. Also, if you like the content on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can check out our daily exclusive content at SprintCarLimited.com. We'll be back next week with another edition of the deep dive.